All right, trying to finish up these two Princetons, the 65 and the 69. This is the 65, and there was some hum in the reverb, and that was caused by the reverb driver transformer being connected to the screen node. And that has a wire here, which goes to this connection here, which goes to this 220K, which is driving the tremolo. And from there was a wire that went all the way over here and connected to this spot here. It goes underneath the board. And that's connecting the reverb driver to the screen node, and only has two stages of filtering, as I mentioned in the previous video, so you can have some hum and the reverb return of a Princeton. What I've done, you can see this, not my favorite color of shrink wrap, but it is at least red. I did another cloth-covered red wire. So I spliced it there, and I'm running it here to the previously unused node between the two 18K dropping resistors. And that gives another filter node on the reverb driver, and still has enough voltage to swing the reverb just fine, but it takes the hum down a huge amount. The issue is if you have the reverb connected to the screen node, and you have you measure your voltages here and then in the preamp, and then you change it just straight. So this is connected to this previously unused node between the two 18Ks. You drop about 40 volts at the screen node, and you drop about 30 volts at the preamp. So I have changed the first 18K resistor to a 10K, which keeps the voltage within 2 volts of what it originally was at the screen and at the preamp. So we still have the reduced noise, but with the 10K versus 18K. So it's 1K, 10K, 18K versus 1K, 18K, 18K. Anyway, by changing that to 10K, this is back to the preamp voltages of a Princeton. Second thing I changed, I originally had all the grounds of all these caps tied together to here, and then going to the chassis down here where the old one was tied. But I decided to see if it made a benefit, if there was a benefit, and there is a measurable benefit to changing it to be a little more like the AB763s. So this cap, the reservoir cap, is still grounded directly to the chassis down here where the center tap for the HT secondary is. But the grounds of everything else are tied together separately, and they're running all the way down, tucked against this board, so it doesn't look like it's any different, all the way down here, and coming to ground right here at the chassis input where you can't quite see. So they're going right here. So all the preamp grounds are coming in right at the input, and that has further lowered noise in the amp, and it's sounding quite nice. Here you can see where I wrote down the stock voltages. The voltages change if I just move that wire from the screen node to the 18K intersection, and then I had a target, and 10K got me right back there within about 2 volts. So, 419, 420, that was wall voltage fluctuation. Don't ever chase your tail over micro changes. If you're within 5 volts of the target, you're really good. Sorry about the beep there. The other thing I had to do was change out from the Sovtech 5AR4 GZ34 that the amp came with for the 5U4GB, which is an old one from the 69. In about 69, Fender changed from the 5AR4 to the 5U4GB because wall voltages were increasing, and wall voltages have increased. And so this amp with 120 volts coming from the wall with the GZ34, the B plus is too high. Not just too high for the filter caps, it's approaching 450 volts, but it's way too high for the screens and plates of 6V6s. Now, you can get away with that a little bit with the 6V6S from JJ, but for a true 6V6 like these Electro-Harmonics, because the RCAs were not good, they're in this box to go back to the owner in these boxes. With the true 6V6, you have a cap of about 430 volts DC. And so by changing to the 5U4GB, now we have about 420 volts B plus when everything is biased correctly. So this amp will now behave with 120 volts mains the way this amp would have back in 1965 with 110 coming out of the wall with a 5U4 GB, with the 5AR4. So that's an easy thing to do on a Princeton. You can also see I've got bear trap, no bear trap. I ordered 6. The vendor made a mistake, only sent 2. They sent me the replacement ones. It's December in America, and so the post office and the UPS and everyone are running slow. It's supposed to be here today or tomorrow, at which point I can install it for this one. Just take that wobble out. The Deluxe, I believe, did not have them, and the Princeton did not have them, and the Champ did not have them. All other Fender models from the 60s had tube retainers. Since this was a, quote, student model, they skipped it, but it still has the same advantages that you'd want to have with them, like you would in a Super or a Twin. So it's an easy thing to do. It makes no permanent modification to the amp. Other things I've done, you can see there's a Warehouse G10C installed. The old Oxford was not sounding that great, and it had some damaged speaker cables, so I got some white and black cloth-covered 18-gauge wire and a new F-cap, because the old plug was messed up. So a new plug with an F-cap, all soldered in place. This sounds great. The old Oxford will go back with the amp. This amp, when it came to me, had a 12AT7 for V1 instead of the 7025 or 12AX7. So it now has one of the old RCA 7025s that came in the 69. The other things I had to do, this particular baffle had some damage here and here and here, where the chipboard had just kind of broken away over the years. So I went in there and I took it all out, and I didn't film it because I was busy. I reinforced the chipboard in those areas with some super glue, and once that had soaked in, I then glued in some toothpicks using some wood glue, and then once that had set up, I put this back, and now it's really tight. Should not have any issues going forward. And the Tolex was flapping loose, both this entire left cleat and up here and on the front edge and on the front edge up here. So I took it all out and cleaned it all up and re-glued all this Tolex back in place. It's nice and tight, back to factory spec. Just a nicety, but an important one. So let me show you how this G10C sounds. I forgot to mention the tank that came in the 65 was dead, and the old braided metal cables from the Reverb tank had busted RCA plugs. So after talking to the owner, I have moved the tank and the braided cables from the 69 to the 65. That's what you're about to hear, the old Accutronics. And we put a new Mojo tone with new braided cables in the 69. So here is the amp. Volume is about 3.5. Treble's 5.5. Bass is 5.5. Reverb is just over 2.5, nudging up towards 3. And I've got the tremolo off for right now. Real nice low-end response for a 10-inch speaker. The G10C is just a phenomenal choice for a Princeton. It sounds like a small twin. And with a K-line Springfield that's here for nefarious purposes, this guitar has real single coils and it's unshielded, so it's a bit noisier than mine. I'm very pleased with how the 65 came out. Just waiting on one bear trap for the 5U4 to button that up. Then I'll do the same thing to the 69, and they will go home to, I think, a very happy owner. Thanks for watching.